Admit it, you definitely spent at least one afternoon as a kid watching Looney Tunes. There's just no escaping it. Those wild Roadrunner and Coyote chases, Bugs Bunny's swagger, and of course Daffy Duck's oversized ego. They defined a whole generation with lighthearted humor and iconic characters. Now imagine taking that whole gang and suddenly turning them into a dark, almost gothic team, heavily inspired by early 2000s action anime. That's exactly what Warner did with Loonatics Unleashed. Suddenly, Bugs became Ace Bunny, a serious, sword-wielding team leader, and Daffy turned into Danger Duck, a cowardly, egocentric hero who was never quite satisfied. It was a bold, and to many, downright bizarre, attempt to modernize the franchise for a new generation. It was weird, it was over the top, but honestly, it had a kind of boldness that's hard to forget. So today on the channel, we're diving into the full story of Loonatics Unleashed, Warner's attempt to do something different, and one that still holds a special place in many childhood memories for being truly one of a kind. On the hottest day of the year, a giant iceberg decides to roll through Metropolis, freezing everything and everyone in its path like it's Mr. Freeze on a bad day. As the city turns into a popsicle, the Loonatics are chilling in their tower, Tech and Rev are ordering pizza, Ace is meditating, and Duck is trying to pick a cooler new name for himself. The calm vibe is shattered when their boss Zadavia appears to give them the lowdown. Something is seriously wrong with all this ice. The heroes spring into action. Tech whips out his new firearms, the Retro Fire Master blasters, to melt the iceberg, but the ice seems to have an invisible shield and doesn't even feel the heat. Plan B is to use Slam's tornado power to break the ice with brute force and friction. It works. The temperature returns to normal, and they almost celebrate.
Good guys won, Mother Nature not.
But Lexi, with her super hearing, picks up something sinister coming from inside what's left of the ice. The rest of the iceberg crumbles, revealing the surprise, a giant Viking ship with a dragon head. From it emerge robotic Vikings led by a guy named Gunnar, who immediately announce they're taking over the city. The first fight is quick and disastrous. The Vikings use swords that freeze everything, turning the Loonatics into ice statues. Duck manages to break free with a powerful quack and freeze the rest of the team, but the villains have already vanished. Zadavia explains they came from another dimension. When the Loonatics try to go after them, they discover their jetpacks have conked out. Tech, the team's genius, already had a backup plan. They take down the Viking ship but realize it was all a distraction. The real plan was to freeze the planet's energy core and start a new ice age. In the final battle, Ace kicks Gunnar into the core just as Tech hacks the Viking system, reversing the freeze and frying the robots. Back at headquarters, Zadavia denies Duck's request to change his name, saying Danger Duck is self-explanatory and easy to remember. Metropolis is in a total frenzy over the fuzz, some super cute critters that have become the latest pet craze. The man behind the trend is a certain Professor Zane, who claims he found the little creatures right after the meteor crash. The craze is so huge that even Lexi adopts one for herself, but the cuteness ends when Zadavia summons the team for a mission. A giant spider monster has attacked a family. The Loonatics arrive on the scene, but the monster disappears under a bridge. While investigating, Duck finds a lost Fuzz Z, names it Wonderfluff, and stashes it in his backpack. Lexi's Fuzz Z jumps in there too. The trouble starts when Duck mentions he has chocolate in his backpack. The bag simply explodes, and out pop the two Fuzz, now transformed into monstrous giant spiders. Basically a cute version of Gremlins you can't feed after midnight, but with chocolate. After an intense fight, the effect wears off, and the creatures return to normal. Zadavia figures out what happened and divides the team. Ace, Slam, Tech, and Rev are tasked with collecting all the Fuzz in the city, while Lexi and Duck go after Professor Zane. The duo finds the scientist but is captured. Zane confesses everything. He knew chocolate turned the critters into monsters and spread the pets across the city on purpose.
My first two fuzzies weren't supposed to transform so soon, not until I had completely flooded the entire city with biopets.
Seeing the duo has gone off the radar, the rest of the team goes for the rescue. After more chaos, they manage to activate a machine that reverses the mutation of all the Fuzz. With peace restored, the Loonatics return the creatures to the center of the Earth, where they came from, and earn a well-deserved day off. A new villain named Black Velvet emerges in Metropolis, using an army of dark robots to steal the city's main computer and transmit a sinister signal. Meanwhile, at Loonatics HQ, Tech is trying to meditate at Ace's suggestion, but Duck ruins his concentration vibration with the most annoying ringtone in the universe. This leads to a bet. If Duck can go a week without using technology, Tech will buy him a new cape and boots. If Tech wins, he gets the prize. Zadavia briefs the team on Black Velvet and they head out on the mission. Along the way, the ship's lights flicker and suddenly, Tech vanishes. He's been abducted by the villain. Strapped to a table, Tech discovers her plan. Black Velvet was blinded by the light of the meteor and now wants to plunge the entire planet into darkness. And worse, she brainwashes Tech into helping her operate the Doomsday Machine. The Loonatics pursue the enemy ship but have to disarm their own missiles to avoid hitting Tech. After a risky maneuver where Duck ends up using technology and losing the bet, they manage to board the ship. While Lexi, Rev, and Slam hold off the robots, Ace and Duck come up with a brilliant idea. Use Duck's annoying ringtone to snap Tech out of his trance. The sound frequency is so bizarre that it not only frees Tech, but also creates a supernova that disintegrates Black Velvet and her army. The heroes escape with Tech and the stolen equipment. In the end, Tech shows up looking stylish, wearing the cape and boots he won in the bet. Zadavia compliments his look, leaving Duck furious and calling his friends despicable. The Acme News weather team is caught in a storm at City Hall, and things are tense. We meet Paula, the intern for the famous weather girl, Misty Breeze. Paula tries to offer some ideas, but her boss shuts her down immediately, basically telling her to stay in her lane. What no one knows is that Paula can control the weather. To get revenge, she creates a small rain cloud just to ruin Misty's hair. With her boss out of commission, the crew puts Paula on the air, but she doesn't just want her 15 minutes of fame, she wants an epic moment. So she uses her powers to worsen the storm and make the report more exciting. The problem is, a lightning bolt from her own storm strikes her. Instead of getting fried, she gets a power upgrade and a heavy dose of villainy. When Misty returns, more concerned with her image than her colleague, Paula, now transformed, launches her into the sky in a fit of jealousy. Meanwhile, Ace, Tech, and Slam are jury-rigging a giant fallen antenna. Suddenly, Misty Breeze plummets from the sky and is saved by the antenna and by Danger Duck, who declares himself her #1 fan. The Loonatics fly to City Hall, already aware that a new villain is in town. When they arrive, they find the TV crew's van overturned and a traumatized cameraman. Paula, now calling herself Weathervane, attacks with cloud creatures. The fight seems lost until Lexi bursts a fire hydrant and dissolves one of the monsters. Rev copies the idea, Ace opens a fountain, and Duck, by sheer luck, blows up the last one with an orb of orange juice. Frustrated, Weathervane starts throwing lightning bolts at the team. Tech uses an antenna as a lightning rod, disintegrates, and then rebuilds himself as if nothing happened. Next, she creates a tornado, but Slam uses his own tornado power to counter it. Realizing she can't win, Weathervane attacks the city, causing a flood and nearly derailing a train. While the heroes save the people, she escapes and transforms into a giant storm dragon. Tech devises a plan. Use Duck as bait to lure the dragon to a volcanic island. Slam is supposed to throw a lava bomb into the volcano, but he activates the timer too early, causing a mad scramble. In the end, it all works out. The volcano's eruption evaporates the storm dragon. Back in the city, Danger Duck tries to get an autograph from Misty, but he has so much of her merch that they both end up buried under licensed products. Lexi and Duck are in Chinatown getting lunch for the team when a parade starts. Duck is already on edge, saying he doesn't want to be in a place that serves duck and rabbit on the menu. Suddenly, a bizarre earthquake hits, lifting the entire neighborhood to the top of a mountain and sucking up the buildings with a green light. At the same time, a mysterious villain steals an artifact from a museum, promising that the chaos has only just begun. Back at HQ, the Loonatics try to figure out what happened. Tech builds a perfect model of Chinatown to study the phenomenon, and reveals that, lacking mud, he used chocolate fudge, which prompts Slam and Lexi to start eating the model. Zadavia appears and explains. The villain is a brilliant scientist who became obsessed with controlling rocks and was kicked out of the scientific community. The meteor that gave the heroes their powers also disfigured him, and now he's stolen the Jade Serpent Crystal, an item of immense power. The Loonatics head underground in the mobile magma mover, a giant drill machine. Tech guarantees the machine can drill through any rock, but it stops almost immediately. Soon, stone golems appear and attack, and one of them grabs Lexi. Duck saves her with a well-aimed shot, and the fight begins. The drill is short-circuiting, and the only solution is for Tech to electrocute himself to restart it. He disintegrates and rebuilds himself, grumbling that he hated doing that. With the machine running, they destroy the golems. Dr. Dare appears and reveals his plan to turn Metropolis upside down so he can live in peace on the surface. He flees, causing the cavern to collapse. Slam uses his tornado power to save them. On the surface, the city is already flipped, with only rocks in sight. They invade Dare's fortress, but the villain uses the crystal's power to begin turning them to stone. In a stroke of genius, Ace uses his laser eyes, bouncing the beam off the stone walls until it hits the crystal and frees everyone. Dare tries to escape, but Lexi kicks him down a flight of stairs. In the final fight, he attempts to petrify Ace, but the hero uses his sword to reflect the beam, turning Dr. Dare himself to stone. Tech uses the crystal to restore the city, and the team celebrates with a Chinese food feast, which Slam devours in seconds. Metropolis is celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the meteor strike with a party for the Loonatics. But the celebration is cut short when rock fragments begin to fall from the sky. The heroes protect the city, but Tech discovers something worse. A new meteor, 500 times larger than the first, is heading toward the planet. A mass extinction event is certain. Duck complains that he doesn't want a world where everyone has superpowers, but Lexi corrects him. If the meteor hits, no one will be left. As the team prepares for a space mission, the episode flashes back to their lives before they got their powers. They were a real bunch of misfits. Ace was a martial arts stuntman, tired of just taking punches in movies. Lexi was an incredible gymnast trying to make the cheerleading squad, but the captain, consumed by jealousy, sabotaged her. Duck was a pool cleaner, fed up with having to fish dirty diapers out of the water all day. Slam was a professional wrestler disappointed with fixed matches, craving real action. Tech was a genius inventor at the Acme Institute of Technology, but his perfectionism always caused his inventions to explode. And Rev was a pizza delivery guy who, ironically, was always late, even using jet-powered roller skates he built himself. Back in the present, the Loonatics head into space to intercept the threat. Their first attempt to destroy the meteor from a distance fails. Plan B is straight out of a Hollywood movie. Land on the surface of the giant rock and plant explosives to detonate it from the inside. They succeed in destroying the meteor, saving the planet once again. However, somewhere far away, a mysterious figure watches everything and vows that, one way or another, they will still destroy Metropolis, leaving a cliffhanger for what's to come. An intergalactic circus arrives in Metropolis, like a space-themed Cirque du Soleil, but with much weirder creatures. The host, a guy named Ringmaster, has a rather sinister hobby. He's creating human-animal hybrids, basically a sideshow Dr. Moreau. And of course, that was never going to end well. The chaos begins when a child disappears, and the last place they were seen was, you guessed it, the circus. The Loonatics start investigating and follow a monkey-cheetah hybrid who, surprise, is Zadavia herself, who had fallen into the circus's trap before anyone else. But the Ringmaster was already waiting for them and in the blink of an eye turns the entire team into an animal salad. The mission is now twofold: turn back to normal and shut down the Ringmaster's party. After a frantic chase, they manage to reverse the mutation, and then comes the movie-worthy plot twist. The real villain isn't the Ringmaster, but his assistant, Otto. The guy was the mastermind behind everything. To make matters worse, Otto transforms his own boss into a giant hybrid monster. The Loonatics have to think on their feet and use a sonic boom to defeat the creature. To close out the circus for good, they trap the monster and Otto with Tech's new invention, the Gluco Gel 9000. Show's over for the villains. At the Metropolis Bank, a new gravity-controlling villain named Massive arrives, announcing a heist. He uses his powers to disarm the guards and make everyone in the bank float like party balloons. After effortlessly breaking into the vault, Massive steals a cart of gold bars worth a fortune. And just to be extra evil, he snatches a single coin from a boy making his first deposit. How cruel. Zadavia alerts the Loonatics to the crime spree, and they head to the Metropolis Museum, the villain's next target. Once there, Massive gives them a choice straight out of a horror movie.
Save just one trinket or save yourselves. Don't you know the cost of being heroes is rising?
Tech creates a shield, but the clever villain traps the team between two walls about to crush them. The museum is reduced to rubble, and Massive escapes once again. The Loonatics devise a plan to lure him out. Disguised as a billionaire, Danger Duck publicly announces a massive investment in a luxury rocket event. The bait works, and Massive appears. However, he proves to be immune to their attacks, claiming his body is too dense to be harmed. He then uses his gravity powers to make the Loonatics weightless, sending the entire team floating into space. Ace. Danger Duck, who had stayed behind, manages to rescue them with the ship, but the rescue ends in a crash landing. The team finally understands that Massive's power is based on giving and taking away weight, and they decide to use it against him. Upon discovering that the most valuable object in the world is the Mondo Bowl trophy, Massive decides that the ultimate prize is something else. He wants to steal the championship trophy. After all, why settle for money when you can have glory? The Loonatics obviously aren't about to let that slide. They crash the tournament, not as spectators, but to shut down the villain's scheme. That's when things get wild. Massive unleashes total chaos on the stadium, sending the crowd floating uncontrollably before letting them plummet back down. But the Loonatics aren't just any team. Through teamwork, they manage to neutralize Massive, stop him from getting away with the trophy, and, of course, save the day and the Basherball Championship. This episode's villain is Drake Cypher, a guy with the most OP power ever. He steals the abilities of anyone he touches, like Rogue from the X-Men, but with a giant ego and a craving for all the fame. He starts by crashing the Basherball game, stealing a star player's skills just to sink the winning shot and walk away as the hero of the day. Ace and Rev, who were in the audience, let their guard down, and Cypher touches them, absorbing both of their powers without breaking a sweat. With the team already down 2 members, Zadavia appoints Lexi as the leader. But it doesn't last long. On a mission to stop a dam from bursting, Cypher shows up and steals Lexi's and Slam's powers too. The situation is critical, and now it's up to Duck to be the leader. But his reign is short-lived, because during a parade, Cypher manages to take Tech's powers and even Duck's. Just like that, Cypher has become a one-man lunatic. Powerless, Tech doesn't miss a beat, and builds special armored suits for the team. During the fight, they notice Cypher is avoiding physical contact at all costs. Then it hits them. If he steals powers with a touch, maybe they can get them back by touching him. The team rushes him, manages to make contact, and reclaims everything. With their powers restored, defeating the villain is a piece of cake. In the end, Zadavia congratulates the team and informs Duck that his time as leader is over. It was fun while it lasted, right? Things kick off with a frantic reporter on TV. A giant military robot, the Trollbot 9000, has been stolen. The Loonatics try to stop the machine, but it doesn't go well. The plan was to blow up a propeller so Tech could neutralize the robot, but the situation descends into total chaos. Rev accidentally reverses Tech's device and turns the poor guy to ash. To make matters worse, the Trollbot is practically invincible and simply demolishes their headquarters. Just as the giant robot is about to crush Ace, he wakes up in his bed. It was just a nightmare, or was it?
Whoa! That was some dream.
He goes to the kitchen, and Zadavia informs him that someone broke into a lab to steal, you guessed it, the Trollbot 9000. It's like the movie Groundhog Day, but with superheroes and mass destruction. As the team gears up, Duck gets a call from a Dr. Chroniker, complaining that his grandson is out of control. Duck blows him off, telling him to deal with the kid himself. Little does he know, this grandson, Arthur Chroniker, also known as Timeskip, is the thief. He broke into the lab, claiming the robot project was his. The Loonatics arrive, and Timeskip freezes everyone in time and escapes with the Trollbot. The opening scene repeats, but now Ace has a serious case of deja vu. Tech finally figures it out. Timeskip is manipulating time to always be one step ahead. They need to talk to his grandfather. Dr. Chroniker reveals he's been resetting the day for 5 days, like dying in a video game and going back to the last save point. His grandson can skip a few seconds into the future, basically using reality like a cheat code. The solution? Set a time trap. The day resets one more time, but now Ace receives a letter from his future self with instructions. When Timeskip arrives to get the robot, surprise! Lexi, Slam, and Duck are already inside, piloting the machine. They lure the villain to HQ, where the rest of the team prepares the trap. They manage to capture the kid, and his grandfather promises to remove his powers before he's sent to prison. We meet Mallory Mastermind, a villain locked up in a maximum security prison. Her power? She can turn any metal she touches into a high-tech weapon, basically Magneto, but with the creativity to turn a simple pen into a spy bot. And that's exactly what she does. She steals a guard's pen, creates a tiny robot, and uses it to control a construction bot to break out of jail. Meanwhile, at HQ, Duck is acting like a pro gamer in a training simulator, much to the annoyance of Tech, who insist it's not a video game. Zadavia interrupts the gameplay to inform them of Mastermind's escape. On the way, Tech tells her story. Mallory was his student, and tried to create a machine to absorb others' knowledge. The plan backfired, and the feedback literally made her brain swell.
Unfortunately, she was hit by a surge of bioelectrical neuron feedback.
The Loonatics arrive at the prison, but it's a trap. Mastermind uses the construction robots to attack the team. They win easily, but she vanishes. The escape was just a diversion. The villain has already infiltrated and taken control of Loonatics HQ, and from there, she shoots down their jet. As they try to break into their own base, they discover Mastermind has left a few surprises. The weapons in the armory have been sabotaged, and when they pick them up, they stick to their hands and start firing on their own. After getting rid of the weapons, they try to use a secret elevator but fall into another trap. Mastermind locks them in a room and cranks up the heat, trying to turn them into a hero barbecue. They escape through the air ducts, and Tech devises a plan. Use an EMP device to shut down all the power in the base, leaving the villain without her toys. The team splits up. One group goes for the EMP and ends up fighting a vacuum cleaner, a blender, and a CD player that have been turned into killer robots. The other team goes after Mastermind and is attacked by holographic ninjas that multiply with every hit. In the middle of the chaos, Rev manages to activate EMP, shutting everything down. Without power, the robots and holograms disappear. Game over. Mastermind is left powerless and sent back to prison. The villains Cypher, Mastermind, Massive, and Weathervane are being transported when a wormhole opens out of nowhere and kidnaps them. On the other side, they meet Optimatus, a powerful being who offers them the city of Metropolis in exchange for their help in defeating the Loonatics. He even gives them a device to install at the hero's HQ. It's an offer they can't refuse. Back at HQ, Duck is blaming himself for the escape, but Ace tries to calm him down. Zadavia appears and orders them to find the villains. What they don't know is that Zadavia herself fears Optimatus is behind it all. The team tracks Cypher to the zoo, but it's a trap. The four villains attack and defeat the Loonatics, who wake up imprisoned in the underground jail Tech built, with their powers neutralized. The irony is strong with this one. Meanwhile, Mastermind disguises herself as Duck to fool the security system, enter HQ, and install Optimatus's device. Zadavia manages to warn Duck and Rev, who escape the trap just in time. Rev uses his super speed to find out where the others are being held. To free the team, Duck has to distract Cypher while Rev tries to guess the prison's password. Duck accidentally teleports right in front of the villain, who steals his powers. Luckily, Tech remembers the password and shouts it to Duck, now a regular Duck, who manages to type it in and free everyone. The team fights the villains and manages to escape the prison before it collapses. Optimatus, furious with their failure, pulls his new recruits back through the wormhole. Duck, desperate to get his powers back, dives into the portal after them. To end the episode with a soap opera-worthy bombshell, Zadavia appears in person and reveals, "Optimatus is my brother." Ace immediately gets in her face. "So, are you gonna spill the beans, or are we gonna wait for Duck to become your brother's main course?" She explains that she's from the planet Freelang, and that she and Optimatus are from the royal family, but her brother was too ambitious and wanted to rule the universe. When the Freelang Council denied his request, he staged a coup with his robots and declared himself dictator. To make matters worse, he tried to capture his own sister, but Zadavia was a total badass and fought back with her powers, escaping in a ship. During takeoff, Optimatus got caught in the engine, which explains why his face is all messed up. She fled to Metropolis, but her brother found her, and the biggest reveal of all, it was Optimatus who launched the meteor that gave the Loonatics their powers. With a plan to go after him, Zadavia reveals she has a brand new ship. Ace cracks a joke. "You've been holding out on us, huh?" On the asteroid, the Loonatics are met with gunfire. Zadavia herself exits the ship and starts tearing things up with her powers, but she ends up being captured. The hero's ship explodes with Ace and Rev inside, leaving everyone in a panic, but thankfully, the two survive, and Lexi even gives Ace a relieved hug. Meanwhile, Duck, who had been captured, comes up with a brilliant plan. He tricks a robot by asking for a glass of water, throws it on an electrical panel, and manages to escape. The final battle begins. Optimatus wants to use a giant wormhole to destroy Metropolis. Tech can't hack the alien technology, but remembers a universal chip Zadavia mentioned, and manages to stop the Doomsday weapon. Zadavia wins the fight against her brother, and Ace knocks the villain out for good. To top it all off, Zadavia opens another wormhole and sends Optimatus to a cold, isolated corner of the universe. Bye-bye.
No, you can't do this to me! This isn't over! I'll be back!
Back on Earth, the other villains think they've won, but the Loonatics appear right behind them, ready to crash the party. Out of nowhere, a wormhole opens in the park, and a flying train emerges, causing mass chaos. Ace hops on his hoverbike to catch the train, but is attacked by a new villain. In the middle of the fight, another biker appears, a guy named Deuce, who saves Ace and acts like his new best friend. But when Zadavia shows up, the mood shifts. She already knows this guy, and she doesn't look happy, telling him to stay away. Back at the base, Zadavia explains that the train is the last ship that left Freeling, and is filled with a cargo that could make a man a king. She doesn't trust Deuce, but Ace, in his naivety, decides to give the guy a second chance and invites him on the mission. Bad idea. During the fight, Deuce asks to borrow Ace's sword, and as soon as he gets it, reveals he was playing them all along and that he and Sam are partners. He uses the sword's hidden powers to knock out Ace, and the train disappears again, taking Slam and Duck with it. Zadavia finally tells the full story. Deuce was one of her most powerful generals, but he abandoned Freeling to seek power for himself. The train's cargo, his robot army, and Ace's sword, the Guardian Strike Sword, belonged to one of Freeling's greatest warriors. The plan now is to use Sam as bait. Since he's not very bright, the Loonatics have to help him escape and lead them to Deuce. The plan works. In the final battle on the train, Deuce kicks Sam out, not wanting to share the universe. Ace boards the train and taunts Deuce, saying a real warrior wouldn't need a magic sword. When Deuce is distracted, Ace takes the sword back. Instead of attacking, he cuts the car's coupling, sending Deuce and his army straight into the wormhole. In the end, Zadavia praises Ace, and Duck, complaining about the lack of information, gets a shock from the sword, just to learn not to be so hasty.
I mean, really, it's just a sword. Is there a draft in here?
The Loonatics are testing a high-tech boat designed by Tech. While Danger Duck is bragging about being the king of the seas, a dolphin bumps into the boat and knocks him overboard. Furious, Duck tries to use his powers on the animal, but ends up hitting the boat's controls, sending it hurtling toward a giant ocean liner. Suddenly, a mysterious whirlpool forms and swallows the entire ship. After rescuing the passengers, the frantic captain warns them about the dolphins. Lexi thinks she heard one of them speak, and Duck is attacked by a dolphin that morphs into a monstrous creature. Back at HQ, Zadavia reveals the whirlpools are part of a series of attacks on surface structures, all orchestrated by whales and dolphins. Tech creates language translators, and the team sets off in individual sea pods towards a sunken warship. There, they fall into an ambush by mutant dolphins. Slam is captured, and Lexi's brain blast power fails. Ace is caught by a giant jellyfish, where he meets the mastermind behind it all, a super intelligent mutant dolphin named Adolfo, who seeks revenge on the surface world for polluting the oceans. Basically, an eco-villain. As a massive whirlpool threatens to sink all of Metropolis, Ace manages to escape. The team regroups, and Duck uses his new aqua-dense power to propel the boat out of the vortex. To stop the city from sinking, Duck and Lexi create a counter-vortex, neutralizing the threat. In the end, the Loonatics capture Adolfo, placing him in a small aquatic prison, and ending his plan for oceanic revenge. The city of Metropolis is in chaos with a mastodon, which looks more like a mammoth, running wild through the streets. In the midst of the confusion, the Loonatics nearly have a head-on collision with a pterodactyl, which Lexi captures and returns to the zoo. There, she has a brief encounter with Pierre Le Pew before warning Ace that a saber-toothed tiger is on the loose. While the team tries to corner the tiger, Ace sends Slam to handle the mastodon. Using his wrestling moves, Slam immobilizes the beast and earns applause from the crowd. Pierre Le Pew, who is nearby, sees the spectacle and decides to recruit Slam for his private fighting tournament. Back at the zoo, Tech discovers that someone let the animals out on purpose, and Lexi already suspects it was Pierre. Duck is sent to help Slam, but by the time he arrives, Pierre is already there, offering Slam the chance to be a champion, complete with a belt and prize money. Upon hearing the word money, Duck accidentally knocks out the saber-toothed tiger and appoints himself Slam's manager, signing the contract on the spot. When the rest of the team arrives, the trio vanishes, teleported to the Max Arena. While Ace and Lexi are freaking out over their disappearance, Tech finds traces of Gordium, residue from a teleporter, and starts tracking his friends. At the Max Arena, Slam goes through a training montage and defeats several bizarre fighters. but Tech uncovers the truth. The tournament is an illegal intergalactic competition where only one fighter leaves alive. Basically, if Slam loses, it's game over. The team arrives just in time for the final fight against Gorlop, the undefeated champion. At first, Duck underestimates the opponent, who is tiny, but the first punch proves that size doesn't matter. Worse, with every hit Gorlop takes, he grows bigger. The Loonatics try to help but only make the situation worse, turning the creature gigantic. Pierre even traps everyone under an energy dome. Luckily, Rev, with his super speed, discovers that dodging the attacks makes Gorlop shrink. Slam uses this tactic, the little monster returns to normal and starts crying. To escape, they have Gorlop absorb the energy from their attacks and fire it at the dome, which explodes. Pierre is arrested, and Slam, though sad about not being the official champion, gets the belt from Lexi. Lunatic's tower is attacked in the middle of the night, and while everyone scrambles to defend the base, Danger Duck is snoring as if nothing is happening. After they shoot down the missiles, Duck finally wakes up, complaining about the noise. The one responsible for the attack is Silth Vester, a mercenary working for a mysterious figure. Shortly after, Zadavia appears with a mission. Take Tweetums, the heir to the throne of the planet Blanc, back home to end a war. Ace, Danger Duck, and Slam set off in a repaired enemy ship while the rest of the team stays behind for support. As it turns out, Duck becomes Tweetum's babysitter, and the kid is a real menace. He forces Duck to wash his back and tricks him into getting an electric shock. Fed up, Duck locks the little bird in a cage. Suddenly, the ship is attacked again. The shields were disabled by someone on the inside. While Ace and Slam hold down the fort, Tweetums escapes from his cage, wanting to see the space battle up close. Duck, thinking he was jettisoned with the trash, puts on a spacesuit and goes out to find him. That's when Silth Vester captures Duck. Seeing his new friend in danger, Tweetums invades the villain's ship to save him. There, Duck and Silth start venting, like a support group for Tweetum's victims, sharing stories of how the little bird tortured them.
No feathers left from taking on 200 million volts.
No hair left from being dipped into molecular acid.
Meanwhile, Tech discovers that the ship's signal was intercepted and that Silth was communicating with someone. On the villain's ship, Tweetums frees Duck, and when Silth tries to eat him, the bird spots a red button. The villain panics, but Tweetums, with the line, "He doesn't know me very well, does he?" presses the button, blowing up the ship. Duck manages to teleport them both out just in time. On Blanc, they meet Queen Granicus, who reveals she was the one who ordered the attack. She wanted the throne all to herself. When she orders Silth to attack, the Loonatics reveal themselves to be holograms. Ace explains that Tech monitored Silth's conversation and figured everything out. In the end, Duck is knighted by Tweetums, but his reward is to continue being the bird's personal servant. After a bizarre mission against a pizza delivery guy possessed by a techno-brain parasite, Rev Runner's family shows up for a visit. The problem is, they want Rev to give up his superhero life to take over the family business. Desperate to make his father proud, Rev asks Tech for help. During the visit, Rev's father, Ralph, only pays attention to his hero's son, which leaves Rip, the younger brother, seething with jealousy. The kid feels completely ignored. The situation escalates in a very strange way when Rip finds the same brain parasite that the Loonatics had confiscated. The device feeds on Rip's negative feelings and possesses him, amplifying all his anger and envy. Basically, what was family drama turns into a supervillain problem. The parasite transforms Rip's jealousy into power, and now he's acting on all his repressed frustration against his brother. The Loonatics now have a new mission: stop one of their own team members' little brother, who has become a villain fueled by resentment and alien technology. Family drama just leveled up. The city is in chaos as the Sagittarius Stomper, a robotic brute, climbs a skyscraper. The Loonatics arrive to handle it, and Tech is eager to test his new toy, an atomic departiculator that transforms matter. But before he can turn the building into liquid, the villain starts throwing things from the top, aiming for the crowd, and Danger Duck. Duck dodges in his usual clumsy style, but ends up bumping into Tech's machine. The device goes haywire, releasing an old villain, Dr. Dare, and also causing the Stomper to lose his balance and fall. The press, including one overly emotional reporter, hails Duck as the hero of the day. The Stomper vows revenge before being taken away, and to make matters worse, his mother shows up, sharing baby pictures and insisting that he's a good boy. At a press conference, Duck is loving the spotlight, downplaying the rest of the team's efforts. Tech is furious, since his invention did all the heavy lifting. But Duck's joy is short-lived. A reporter warns him that the Stomper always escapes prison to get revenge on whoever captured him. Duck starts receiving flowers with threatening notes, and random objects fall from the sky near him. He and Ace go to check the cell, but the stopper is right there, locked up tight. Meanwhile, Dr. Dare breaks into a museum and steals Perseus's shield, which holds Medusa's reflection. His plan? To turn the entire city into statues. The Loonatics intercept him, and Tech uses his invention to turn the villain's flying platform into water, causing him to fall onto his own shield and turn back into stone. A desperate Duck tells the press that Tech was the real hero, hoping the stopper will switch targets. Bad news, the villain now wants to get them both. Tech and Duck go back to the prison and find the stopper knitting a bizarre scene of himself defeating the two of them. Panicked, the duo decides to take a vacation in the sewers, but the stopper finds them. When the villain captures Tech, Duck has a rare moment of courage and attacks the stopper to save his friend. Following Tech's tip, he uses his aqua-dense power on the sewer water, holding the villain long enough for Ace to freeze him with Tech's invention. In prison, the truth comes out. There were two stompers. Ace, playing detective, explains he got suspicious when he saw a pink toothbrush and knitting needles in the cell. The stopper's mother, who was an engineer, built an identical robot of her son and piloted it from the inside while the real one stayed in jail. As the reporter congratulates Ace, Duck tries to take the credit until he hears a familiar whistle. He scrambles desperately into the elevator, begging not to be left behind. Straight from the intergalactic penitentiary, a villain named Massive escapes and heads right for Metropolis to rob a museum.
Let's get heavy. Really heavy. Stealing seems like the right step back on the wrong road.
The Loonatics arrive, and while Ace wonders about Massive's taste in art, Duck cracks a joke and is nearly crushed by the villain, who appears right behind him. Using his gravity powers, Massive easily defeats Slam, Duck, and Tech. As Ace faces off against Massive, a new character enters the scene, Electro J. Fudd, a Rabbit Hunter 2.0. He takes aim at Ace, but Duck, trying to steal the spotlight, jumps in front and is hit by a plunger-shaped tranquilizer. Massive uses the confusion to escape with the stolen art. Later, Ace and Duck investigate the prison break, where Duck, as usual, gets a shock when he touches the cell bars. Back at HQ, Fudd tries to spy on the team, but the noise inside causes his super hearing device to explode, and he plummets from the building. Shortly after, Massive attacks a Wild West museum. The Loonatics confront him, but Fudd, now invisible, joins the fight and bumps into Duck. Massive, riding a robot horse, fires gravity blasts like they're revolver bullets. Duck, once again, gets in Ace's way, and the villain escapes yet again. The only clue is a strand of hair that Tech finds on Duck, belonging to Fudd. Lexi Bunny explains that the Fudd family comes from a long line of legendarily unlucky hunters, who would always get distracted by a harmless animal only to be attacked by a larger predator. The team then discovers that the Massive they fought was a robot. The irony? Fudd, thinking Duck was thwarting his plans on purpose, decides he's the real hero and switches targets. Ace figures it all out. Someone is collecting the greatest in every category, and the Massive robot was just bait. He sets a trap to catch Fudd, but the hunter, appealing to Duck's ego, captures him first. Duck is taken to the prison, where he discovers the real villain is Otto the Odd. He's taken over the place and is creating the ultimate collection: the greatest artist, the greatest chef, the greatest singing cowboy, and Duck as the lamest hero of all time. Otto tries to freeze them for his collection, but they team up to escape. Ace shows up, revealing he had already figured out the plan. After some confusion with robot clones, Duck accidentally saves the day by knocking Otto into the pack of his own freeze ray. As he boasts about his achievement, he accidentally presses a button and ends up freezing himself, a fitting end for the lamest hero of all time.
No one is greater at being danger, Duck, than me!
Rev is snooping around in Tech's lab and uses a molecular modifier to upsize his food. Tech catches him in the act and scolds him, warning that his inventions aren't toys. As soon as Tech turns his back, Rev goes back to messing with everything and finds what looks like a video game. Lexi shows up, super excited, and uses her gaming skills to blast a bunch of on-screen asteroids with her ballistic bunny bash. Tech returns and freaks out. That wasn't a game, it was his automated weapons system, and they just blew up real things in space. In the vacuum, the ship of Melvin the Martian, a distant cousin of Marvin probably, is hit. Furious, he decides the best way to return the favor is to destroy Metropolis. Melvin appears on a giant screen, listing everything he lost and threatening to shrink the city to add to his collection. Lexi confesses, and Melvin, noticing her gaming skills, changes his mind. He'll spare the planet if Lexi goes with him to be his intergalactic checkers partner. Ace refuses, but Duck, thinking of his own skin, tries to convince Lexi to go. Melvin gives them 24 hours, or metropolis will be wiped off the map. While the team prepares for war, the city begins to shrink. They wake up the next day and realize Lexi is gone. She left a holographic note explaining she sacrificed herself for everyone, and even thanks Duck for the advice. Now everyone is angry at Duck. The Loonatics devise a Trojan horse-style plan to invade Melvin's ship and rescue Lexi. There, they find her playing checkers on a kind of floating board. Ace notices a pattern. The game board is connected to the shrinking of the city. Each moved piece affects a different area of Metropolis. Ace explains the situation to Lexi, and they come up with an escape plan. On their way out, Ace pulls a Bugs Bunny and tricks Melvin with a stick of dynamite, blowing the Martian up. Back on Earth, a furious Melvin launches a missile barrage. Lexi, using the same video game from before, activates her ballistic bunny bash, and not only destroys the missiles, but also blows up Melvin's ship.
Oh dear, I hate when this happens.
Back at HQ, Rev promises to never touch Tech's things again, but is quickly distracted by a red button. Tech warns him not to press it, but it's too late. A cage drops on Rev, finally teaching him his lesson. Meanwhile, in space, Melvin, now in a makeshift vehicle, grumbles that he should have left more stars in the sky so he could see better. At Loonatics Tower, Danger Duck is acting like he's the star of the show, flaunting a commercial he starred in for an island resort. While Ace relaxes, Lexi arrives, furious, complaining that she's stuck with all the work while the guys chill out. Ace, completely calm, admits he's not cut out for the team's administrative side. To cool things down, Duck tries to sell Lexi on the resort idea, and she eventually agrees to a vacation. Ace then suggests the whole team go together, much to Lexi's dismay. On the way, their ship is brought down by a giant vine, and they crash on the island of Apocalypso. There, they find a colony of super-powered women, the Apocazons, led by Queen Athena. Duck tries to hit on the queen, but she ignores him and goes straight to Lexi, impressed by her attitude. Athena invites Lexi to a special event and teaches her a technique to control plants using a special mector. Lexi is thrilled, but the queen warns that the men are already being taken care of. And how? The Apocazons prepare a feast for Ace, Duck, and Slam, except Slam eats the entire table and passes out. Ace, suspicious, stops Duck from eating, and the two discover tractors and plants attacking them. Meanwhile, Athena offers Lexi a place in the tribe, but the conversation is interrupted. To rescue Lexi and Slam, Ace and Duck dress up as women and infiltrate the city. Inside, Lexi has already figured everything out: weapons, missing workers, and a captured Slam. She frees everyone and comes up with a plan: destroy their power source, the Nectar. In the middle of the chaos, Duck even calls in a missile strike on the island. Ace and Lexi confront Athena, who reveals her people have evolved into plant beings and were just refueling. With the missiles on their way, Duck uses his powers to suck the water out of the Nectar, and Lexi restores it. They all escape just in time. And Lexi gives Duck a reality check, reminding him he was willing to destroy someone's home for money. Two gangsters, Stony the Rock and Bugsy the Bug, are stealing weapons across the city. Zadavia alerts the Loonatics about a shipment of Quarium, a substance that can nullify their powers. During the chase, a clumsy police officer named Pinkster Pig gets caught in the crossfire. He turns out to be an old friend of Danger Duck's from their orphanage days. Duck, feeling guilty for using a two-headed coin to get adopted instead of Pinkster, convinces the team to let him help. Ace agrees, but things go south fast. Pinkster fails to activate a trap and ends up catching Ace and Duck, letting the villains escape. The news, of course, mocks the Loonatics' new sidekick. Ace and Lexi want to take Pinkster out, but Duck confesses the story about the coin and the guilt he's carried for years. Taking pity, Ace relents and lets the pigs stay. Pinkster then asks to guard the Quarium. During the transport, he drops his lucky charm and runs after it, forcing Tech to disable the defenses to protect him. It's the perfect opening. Stony and Bugsy show up and capture Tech and Revy. When the dust settles, Pinkster reveals his game. He's working with the Crooks, who adopted him the day after Duck left. He throws the Quarium at Ace and begins his villain monologue, but it was all a trap set by Ace. The bunny reveals he was already suspicious and checked everything. Pinkster never had the jobs he claimed and knew about the Quarium, which was classified information. The substance being transported was just a decoy. The real Quarium was already secure. Duck tries to appeal the Pinkster's good side but gets shoved as the pig turns to the camera and delivers a, "That's not all, folks." Zadavia praises the team for their improvements as heroes but soon receives an anonymous email from a friend inviting her to a concert at the Cosmic Abyss. Duck, of course, offers to be her date, but Zadavia chooses Tech. Obviously, Duck crashes the event. The night seems normal until a band led by Booty's Belinda takes the stage. The music sounds familiar to Zadavia, and not for a good reason. The guitarist starts firing lasers at the audience. Tech and Duck try to intervene but are thrown aside as the band escapes. Back at the base, Bootis appears on the comms and taunts Zadavia about a past they share. As the team investigates, Zadavia is attacked in her underwater home. Bootis uses a special flower to drain her powers and kidnaps her.
No!
Oh, yes, Sadie. And guess who?
The Loonatics find the place trashed and receive a call from Bootes. He wants the cosmic guitar in exchange for Zadavia. The team makes the trade, but it's a trap. Booty's band, which is actually composed of robots, attacks. The real villain is the keyboardist, who sets up a train collision with a car where a holographic Zadavia is trapped. He escapes with the guitar and uses it to drain the real Zadavia's powers. We learn he is Rupes Oberon, a musician Zadavia rejected on her home planet. Tech explains the guy's plan. Use Zadavia's energy in the guitar to control the universe, like a cosmic maestro of evil. The team corners him at the Galaxy Fest, but the robots are a tough match. Tech uses a device to reflect their attacks, destroying them. Rupes then whips out the cosmic guitar, knocks the powerless Zadavia off the stage, and opens a portal. Rev saves her, but it's too late. Rupes flees to find someone else to complete his plan, and that person is none other than Optimatus, whom he frees from his chains. At the base, Lexi wakes Duck up for his watch shift, but before getting to work, the guy decides to make a snack. He teleports to the kitchen and accidentally ends up right in Slam's mouth, who is in the middle of a feast. After making a hero sandwich, Duck returns to the monitoring room and discovers he messed up. Tweetums, the ruler of Planet Blanc, left several holographic voicemails, each more desperate than the last, as his planet was being destroyed by robots. Duck tries to delete the messages on the sly, but the rest of the team shows up and catches him in the act. With no choice, they take Optimatus's ship and head to Planet Blanc to help out. To make Duck's life worse, Tweetums demands he wear a knight's armor, which infuriates him. Tech and Rev stay at the base and discover strange wormhole activity throughout the galaxy. The suspect, the keyboard man, Zadavia, who is on board, explains the importance of Planet Blanc. It's the exact center of the universe and consequently, the center of all wormholes. From there, Optimatus could attack anywhere at any time. Arriving on Blanc, Duck ditches the knight costume, saying he refuses to go into battle looking like he's about to go trick-or-treating. In the throne room, they come face to face, not only with the keyboard man, but also with Optimatus himself. The fight breaks out and Slam is thrown into a space train. From inside the train emerges Deuce, who uses the keyboard man's guitar to bring the ceiling down on the Loonatics. By the time they get out, Optimatus and Deuce are gone. Meanwhile, Deuce invades the hero's ship, defeats the powerless Zadavia, and hijacks the vessel, leaving the Loonatics stranded on Blanc. To top it all off, back in Metropolis, Deuce activates his robot army, while Rev and Tech watch helplessly. Things kick off with Tech updating Ace on Deuce's robot army in Metropolis. Meanwhile, on the stolen ship, Deuce mocks Zadavia, who is imprisoned and powerless. She warns him that her powers will only bring him ruin, but the villain couldn't care less. On Blanc, the Loonatics follow clues from a robot Tweety to find the real one. The first is a riddle that Duck gets wrong, earning him a shower of orange goo. Later, in a cave, they have to choose a lever. Slam picks one that causes rocks to fall on top of Duck and Silk Vester. They finally find Tweetum's backup throne room, but then Optimatus and Deuce appear with an army. In the middle of the chaos, Deuce captures Duck as an insurance policy, and in a soap opera-worthy twist, Deuce betrays Optimatus, trapping him in a power-dampening bubble. When all seems lost, Zadavia appears, alive and well with her powers restored. She frees Optimatus, and the two team up to fight Deuce. It's a classic case of, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The final battle takes place at the planet's core. Silk Vester, the galaxy's biggest turncoat, betrays the heroes again and tells Deuce about the jewel missing from the scepter, the jewel on Duck's neck. But then Tweetums arrives with his own army, wearing armor made by Tech. The tide turns. Deuce tries to escape and activate the portals, but Ace goes after him. In a one-on-one fight, Ace throws Deuce into the portal and uses his sword to send the villain somewhere far across the galaxy. The sword's energy also deactivates all the robots. With victory secured, Zadavia announces that she and Optimatus will rule the planet for Lang together, and promotes the Loonatics from heroes in training to guardians of the universe. The team decides to make Planet Blanc their new base, and it all ends with Tweetums giving Duck one last whack on the head with his scepter. Classic.
Now in forever! You're still despicable.